What's happening, everybody? Hell broke loosey here. Hat weather is back. The older you get, the thinner your hair, the more you need a hat. It's cool. It's real nice here in Virginia. Low 60s right now. My kind of weather. Winter's going to hurt real bad this year, though. It hurt real bad last year, but this one's going to be even worse, both my pain, my body pain. But hopefully I'm going to get an operation pretty soon. I'll find out next Monday after they do a more imaging of my shoulder, which is a lot of my immediate pain. That's what interferes with me playing music the most. It's to the point where I have to make adjustments in how I play, all because of the pain in my shoulder. Anyway, that's enough about me. Oh, I am going through a really bad time. I'm quitting smoking. Anything anybody got to say on that issue, I'll eat it up. The only other time I've quit in my life was end of June. I think I went to the hospital the 26th of June because my lungs just gave up. And I only had 71% oxygen level in my body when I went to see my physician that day. They put me right in the hospital. Well, they put a patch on me, but I underestimated how much of help it was just being in the hospital. I was in there for 16 days. And, you know, when something is not even an option in your mind, it changes your whole outlook. Changes everything. And then with constant visits, oh, y'all know how it's like in the hospital. I mean, you can't hardly go 3 or 4 hours sleep without getting interrupted anymore. All that. And I blamed all the bad feeling, depression, everything I had that was worse on my lung problem. So now I relapsed. I started 3 weeks ago, and it built fast. And I got to stop because I could feel it sucking me to the grave faster. And, you know, I got thinking about it, my life, how few opportunities I have to expand my interest right now, which is all going to change fairly soon, a lot sooner. It's not going to be near as long as it has been. If I continue smoking, I doubt if I would have lived till spring. I just got that real strong hunch and knowing what it feels like to be almost dead. So anyway, thanks for listening. Anything you got to say, I'll eat it up. We'll talk more about religion, women's rights. The climate crisis is our #1 concern, period. It outweighs all other concerns. But the world must go on, order must be kept, and we can do more than one thing at a time on the liberal side anyway. So we have to put equality, climate change, and inequality just under it as our priorities for life right now. And climate change henceforward for next generation, they're still going to be fighting this thing. Hopefully it don't wipe out most of humanity, but it's going to be hundreds of millions die. We got 12 years to do an about face. But it's easy to implement climate change. All you have to have is the right politicians with the power to sign into legislature laws and commandments to reduce carbon tax. We got to have a carbon tax. If Bernie wins, I hope that's within the first month of his presidency where he imposes a carbon tax. All right. Once that ball is rolling, there are thousands of organizations on this planet, besides the millions of people who have their hands on working to clean up our climate. Corporations who are going to provide jobs and take the money from fossil fuel into the solar power field. And the money's going to go there. There are thousands of these gung-ho industries waiting to get the go-ahead, some of it from funding and different restrictions that's stopping them, to go ahead with climate change. And then when he points a proper head of the EPA and Bernie would rebuild the climate, the scientific part of the administration, Well, then he won't have to worry about that. He's not a scientist, but he's intelligent enough to know what he's reading, and he knows he's not a scientist too. So that can be taken care of and got to rolling in the right direction relatively quickly. So that leaves women's rights, which are in dire need of attention right now. Right up there with racism against blacks. And both of them can be put into the same bucket. Like I said, liberals can do a lot of different things at the same time. Whereas Republicans got to stop to chew their gum and then say, okay, I'm going to stop chewing my gum so I can walk. Hey, dumb fuckers. Where does all of women's issues go back to? Every fucking one of them. The Abrahamic religions. Primarily Christianity and Islam. I'm not that familiar with Judaism, since there's only 12 million Jews on the earth to start with. I'm not that familiar. I never slowed down enough to learn all the processes and dogma of Judaism. Only some of the ridiculous things that were right there on front. Islam and Christianity has been my battle in my adult life. Ladies, as long as that Bible is allowed to parade around this country as if it's a true story, you're going to suffer. The only reason that you're not suffering as bad as Islam now is because we have a secular government. That's it. You take away Thomas Jefferson and the boys, and Islam and Christianity will be competing for how many people they can decapitate, beat to death in the square, pull their tongues out, all that shit. See, all that comes from religion. It's in the Bible too. Like I said, our Constitution is the only reason you're not getting put to death right now for talking back to your husband. It's the only reason that it's not like Islam, where it takes two women's testimony in court. It takes two women to be equal to one man's testimony. It's all because of religion. But we don't have to worry about Islam from here, except for putting pressure on our government to get the fuck out of Yemen and forget about doing war with Iran. Bernie come out with a big statement today against the war on Yemen. That is horrific. We're not even a good nation because of what we're doing just in Yemen, let alone great. We're horrible. We're horrific. Okay, but like I said, not that we're not concerned about Islamic mistreatment of women. We very much are. But as I stated years ago when I started my campaign of trying to make a change, through inspiring thought, and sharing what I've learned, because I have a unique voice. It doesn't bother me, and I've gotten warned. I've gotten some concern for my voice lately from friends when I'm doing some podcasts. They think that I could be a target for the right wing. And I guess I could, but I'm not scared. I'm not afraid. And I'm not a person that's worried about getting approval from everybody. I like the approval of select few people. Well, few compared to the masses. I like approval of the 5%. The fringe, the rebels with a cause. But now I done talked myself out of my fucking train of thought. Something else. Anyway, let me talk and it'll come back to me. Christianity is the reason in America that women are still subjugated. It is the reason that even though there is no abortion protection, nothing outlaws abortion at all in the Bible. In fact, as I said in my last video, the book of Numbers promotes abortion. There is nothing in the fucking book. Not a word that condemns abortion. That's some made-up shit by the industrial side of Christianity that wants a whole lot of bodies to fill jobs for $8 an hour or $5 an hour, and a whole lot of bodies to fill uniforms so that they can go get blown up on foreign soil. That is the only motive behind pro-life. Pro-life is pro-death. They just want the baby born so it can be miserable. And if they get 10 of them born, you know, so what if 3 or 4 die of starvation? of drug overdoses because their life is so miserable. Well, so what? We still got 6, you know? Fuck it. The reason you are restricted, ladies, the reason we got heads of state like Mitch McConnell talking so dismissively of you all getting raped, is because of the Bible. You need to help me like I help y'all. You need to help me in dressing down Christianity in the Bible to put it in its right place. The founders of this nation put it in its right place. Not in the fucking state. But the Southern Baptists started tearing down the wall of separation with a letter to James Madison just as soon as the Constitution was signed. Or maybe right before. And the Southern Baptists led the charge to dismantle the wall of separation. If everybody would just look for the politicians that are pro-separation of church and state and throw your support behind them more, send them a few more dollars, because really, through our money is the strongest way to help a politician. I don't have much, but I do donate, and I donate to 3 specific, well-proven organizations. One of them's Bernie Sanders, the other is Union of Concerned Scientists, and the other one is Sierra Club, because they got their hands where they can do the most work. And then all my work is word of mouth, in flesh, or I can reach a lot of people like this. And if I could just get a fraction of the people who are going to vote now because of some encouragement they got from me or they got from someone else on the internet, a fraction of what I have received, thanks for helping people get free of the church, I'd be so happy. I mean, my inbox used to stay full of people thanking me for helping them walk out of the church, that final step. I didn't convince anybody that was totally full of faith. That I might have planted the seed for them to rock their foundation, and years later, there'll be somebody else like me that gives them that final push onto the side of freedom. But I have helped thousands, documented people say you were the last push, you were the last nudge. Now I want to be the last nudge to make you vote. Because everything I did in my fight against religion, all was aimed toward politics. You don't have to know about politics. You don't have to be a political person to vote. Voting is not political. Voting is for the future of your children, of yourself, of your grandchildren. That's what voting's for. And if you don't want to become involved in politics, just look for the things that are obvious. Women's rights, black rights, immigrants' rights, and climate change. Oh, and fair pay. Those are the only things you have to look for. If you want to narrow it down to who's for the fight on climate change and who's pushing for $15 an hour and Medicare for all. There you go. I done got talking here. It's longer than I made in a long time. All right. I'll check in with you later, Lucy.